Last year I decided to make an Arcane cinematic animation. I got this narration idea and I wanted to recreate the final moments of Isha. And this is where it all began. I started modeling and after about 1 or 2 weeks I had something. I had 3 days before heading home for the holidays, so I decided to make a short teaser. And right before Christmas, I uploaded the video without expecting much. Surprisingly, it kinda blew up on TikTok, with over 400,000 views. It was even more surprising how many people were saying that Isha was still alive, so I decided to make some extra scenes later. My biggest concern was still the main model. The outfit was great, but the face... not so much. I made some improvements, but it still wasn't right. I tried to make the model in Character Creator, but I dropped it and just went straight to Blender. And using the multi-res modifier, I applied changes to the head. This way I could attach it back to the body, while keeping the textures and everything else. I also bought the tiny hair shader from TinyNoki. The character was still not perfect, but I liked it. At this point I've been trying to make it for like I don't even know how many times, and I've been watching it for so long I could not tell if it was good or not. But I could tell if I kept aiming for perfection, this project would not be finished. Like, ever. Then comes Warwick. Now here I did not try to cut corners and made everything from scratch. I sculpted the head, then the body. Then retopology, textures, rigging, and last, the fur. It took me some time with on and off work, but it was done. And I also needed jinx for like 2 seconds. At this point I had already finished most of the animations, so I was thinking about using an online model. But most online models were less detailed and would need texturing anyways. So I tried to do it as fast as I could. First the head, then the body. I only needed her for one scene, so I did not make all the clothes. This is enough. And after texturing, I was really happy with the result. I did not have a storyboard since I had all the shots visualized in my head, but to simplify, here's the original idea. We see Isha, and then we transition to this epic crystal explosion scene. Then she makes the final decision. She slides, picks up the gun, and jumps behind Warwick. She glances back at Jinx for one final time, and then... Now the animations. Most of them happen in a really simple environment, just some rocks and a volume cube with area lights. First step was to upgrade the shots from the teaser, change the models and improve the crystal material. The crystal shattering scene looks a bit complex, but these are just a bunch of elements I kept stacking together. The lightning effect is a geometry node setup I bought. I use this for all the lighting in the animation. It was really easy to use and it gives you control over all the attributes. The shards also use geometry nodes. Just a collection instance and set position node, and all the magical elements and symbols are just images. The next couple of shots were relatively easy. Then comes the slide and Warwick. First I tried to get the timing as she picks up the gun, and then just worked on the overall animation. As these were slowly coming together, I started to wonder about changing the gun. Until this point I just used a free model and cut a hole on the side. But the gun from season 2 is a fancy version of this, so let's make it. First I made the block out with basic shapes, and then made each element one by one. And after about 2 days of modeling and texturing, it was done. I even made some extra rigging so the side can open or the front can rotate. Then I switched out the models in the scenes, tweaking a couple stuff here and there. And for the rest of the shots, the process was the same. Animations, test renders. For the hair movement, I made a geometry node setup. It was mostly trial and error, but I got it to work and it does the job. Now the extra story. This would happen in the Arcane as she gets transferred here after the explosion. In sculpt mode, using the mask tool, I drew the main shape. Then solidify and remesh. And yet again, using some geometry nodes, I made the displacements and spikes. As for the background, it's bright. In the show it has a greenish tone, so I used the gradient from white to green. This felt kinda empty and boring, so I made some particles that would float from the top. I got this texture, and I cut out random shapes for a variation, and then I used this in a collection for the particle system. And I also played around with smoke, which looked way too cool and less empty, so I kept it. For the smoke simulations, I used Ambergen. I know Arcane has hand-drawn effects, but I am not trying to replicate its style. Although I managed to sneak in a couple stylized choices like smears and impact frames. And I really wanted to make this disintegration effect. At first, I tried to do a 2D version with procedural textures, but it wasn't the best. And then I got an idea. What if I simulate smoke and I turn it into a mesh? It's pretty simple, just use a volume to mesh node in geometry nodes. And it kinda worked. I did not do much compositing in this project, mostly everything was in camera. Arcane has a special workflow, but I did not want to overcomplicate it. I had a couple exceptions, but they were really few. And the sound design was actually the first thing I started. It's an unusual process, but at first I had the narration idea, so I tried to build and time everything around it. Now, this project took way more time than I wanted, just like any other, but I'm really happy with the result. And if you made it this far, enjoy the final video.
Love is an arcane word. They say hexagon energy is a mystery and nothing short of catastrophic. Yet love can initiate a reaction even more cataclysmic. All it takes is a little spark. And with that choice, there is no turning back. Everything goes blurry and silent. Yet you see and hear the world more clearly than ever. But even when love leads to destruction, the shattered pieces of this world can give you a second chance. In that moment, it may seem like it's the end, not knowing it is only a new beginning.